City of Stevens Point Public Policy and General Government Meeting, recorded May 10, 2021.
This is being recorded. I want to remind everybody, if you're not speaking, please keep yourself on mute until you're recognized by the chair of whatever committee that happens to be. And newly elected chair of Public Policy and General Government is Alderperson Thomas Leek. Mr. Leek, you have 6 o'clock and the floor.
Right, I'd like to call Public Policy and Government to order at 6 p.m. Clerk Yenter, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Leek.
Here.
Jennings.
Here.
Kiemer.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Fischler.
Here.
Everyone's.
Okay, everyone's here. We have quorum. First on the agenda, which got away from me here, is the license list, which I believe we should be taking individually. So the first among these is the extension of the license presence for the Stevens Point Brewery Cider Boy Cider. That is, they want to suspended tours, I believe, is the situation, and now they want to set up a sampling station with a variety of games across the street at the baseball diamond. So, Chief Zenner, any concerns from the police department?
No concerns.
Any questions from the committee for Chief Zenner? Or any questions from the committee at all? Any questions from the public? Maybe I should flip through here in case anything happening. Not seeing anything. So, committee, what are your wishes?
Chair Alder Kneebone will move to approve the extension of licensed premises Stevens Point Brewery / Cider Boys Cider Company, 2617 Water Street, Stevens Point.
Kneebone moves. Do I have a second?
Alder Fischler, I'll second that.
Fischler seconds. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None. Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. So the next item is the temporary Class B license that is Create Portage County for Levitt. No, I'm sorry. Did I go ahead? This is the license list. Yes. Okay. Yeah. For the Levitt Amp Concert Series, June 3rd, June 10th, 17th, 24th, July 8th, etc. Chief Zenner, any concerns here?
No, there's some issues that I will address when we get to item 3, but nothing at the with the
Right, the event list. Okay. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the public?
Alderperson or Chairperson Leek, as you remember, Robert's rules requires you to have a motion.
Oh, right.
Before any discussion is to take place.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I need to rearrange my list here. Okay, so what are the wishes of the committee? And then we'll ask the committee for questions.
This is Alder Kiemer. I'll make a motion to approve, let me get it, the temporary Class B license for Create Portage County for the Levitt Amp Concert Series on June 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, July 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th, and August 5th, 2021.
You went through all the dates. Better than I did.
I read
it. We have a motion from Alder Kiemer. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Troy Jennings.
A second from Jennings. Any questions or discussion from the committee?
Mr. Chair, I just have a comment. It's going to be so nice to have music back downtown. Be great to see all that stuff going on. So thank you.
Welcome. Let's see here. So, any questions from the public? If not, we will take we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. What we have next is the temporary Class B license for the Create Portage County Pride for Stevens Point Pride on June 12th. Again, I know Chief Zenner, you said you'll talk about some things at 3. Anything here?
No issues.
Okay. Well, do you have a motion? Or what are the wishes of the committee?
Alder Fischler, I'll move to approve the temporary Class B license for Create Portage County for the Stevens Point Pride on June 12, 2021.
Fischler moves. Do I have a second?
Kneebone seconds.
Kneebone seconds. Okay. Any questions from the committee for Chief Zenner or in general? Questions from the public? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that was Pride. The next up, D, temporary Class B license for Create Portage County, the Paddle Quest, August 14th to 15th. Anything here, Chief Zenner?
No issues.
Wishes of the committee.
Alder Jennings, I'll move to approve the temporary Class B license for Create Portage County for Paddle Quest on August 14th through 15th.
Alder Jennings moves. Do I have a second?
Alder Keemer will second.
Keemer seconds. Questions for Chief Zenner or in general from the committee? Questions from the public? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And then Part E, we have the temporary Class B license for Create Portage County for the Pineries Food Festival, August 28th. Any concerns from Chief Zenner?
No concerns.
Committee, what are your wishes?
Chair, I will move to approve the temporary Class B license picnic for Create Portage County for the Pineries Food Festival on August 28th, 2021.
Kneebone moves. Do we have a second?
Alder Fischler, I'll second.
Fischler seconds. Discussion, questions from the committee? Any questions from the public? If no, then we have a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. F, temporary Class B license for Create Portage County for the Trivia Unplugged on September 18th, 2021. Chief Zenner, anything here?
No concerns.
Committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Fischler, I'll move to approve the temporary Class B picnic license for Create Portage County for Trivia Unplugged on September 18th, 2021.
Fischler moves. We have a second.
Alder Keemer will second.
Keemer seconds. Any questions or discussion? Anything from the public? Any questions from the public? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And finally, on this first set of licenses, G, the Class B beer and liquor applicants. Oh, this is the entire list. That's right. The entire list of of liquor applicants for beer and liquor, the winery reserve. Let's see. There's B Class C for wine, Class B for beer. Let's see. There's the 6-month license, Class A liquor, and Class A fermented. Class A fermented license applicants. There's a whole list here. Chief Zenner, anything to add here?
No concerns.
What are the wishes of the committee?
Alder Jennings, I'll move to approve.
Jennings moves. Any seconds? Or do we have a second, not just any?
Kneebone will second.
Kneebone seconds. Okay, any discussion from the committee or questions?
Just a question or clarification. Is this a list that's typically annually approved every May or? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I saw there was 2 vacancies on one of the lists. If someone wishes to apply for that license before next May, then that will come before us at that time. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, any questions from the public? Not hearing anything. There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? In that case, no opposed, so motion passes unanimously. Okay, up next, we have the events and or street closings. First up, and many of these correspond to what we just did with the liquor licenses. So the first up is the Levitt Amp concert series, all the dates again. And here, Chief Zenner, what would you like to add here, if anything?
Yes, as we go down this list, I just more or less wanted to address what law enforcement is looking at in these events moving forward. We have many events that we've had in the past, but obviously we didn't last year, and we do have some new events coming up. And the one thing I wanted to address is, where does the recommendation come for law enforcement? What type of presence? What's the difference? When we start looking at contractual officers, auxiliary, or no presence at all, the one thing that will come up is if we request contractual officers. The reason I bring that up is there's a cost associated to that with the entity bringing it forward. So in talking with Lieutenant Mueller, we're trying to standardize what those steps would take. When would that trigger, say, when we would need to have a contractual officer present? Now, obviously, we'll look at every event, individual assessment, and also from prior experiences in the past. Have we had issues there, or is there a concern where we will need to bring in a contractual officer? But where we're looking at as a standard in particular would be, and we're looking to get this written up with working with Parks on a standardized packet. But one, is this a location where alcohol is going to be sold? That's usually one of the first steps that would trigger a contractual officer being hired at the scene. Is it on public property? That would be the other one. Are we selling alcohol on a private? That may be a separate assessment. But if we have, say, an area park or downtown open to basically city-owned property and alcohol is being served, we're down the path of hiring a contractual. The other thing that we'll use to assess that will be how many people will be present. If this is under 50, that may not require, even though we have those first 2 steps where we'd require to have a contractual officer present. But if we get over that 50-person capacity, then we may be more inclined to bring officers in. The one area of discretion that also would come into play, and having conversations with the city attorney on this, would be the duration of an event. And that actually came into play looking at some of these events that we have coming up. If we're looking at an event that was, say, a 2-hour event or less, probably wouldn't need to have contractual officers there. However, if that is going over the 2-hour, 2.5-hour duration, then we would most likely require contractual personnel be present at the scene. I just wanted to basically cover that baseline as we're getting back into these events that will be held in our community, and that several of them come up on this particular agenda today.
Okay, so one question I would have for you on this is there was a question mark on this application next to the line 12, whether police or auxiliary services are needed. They say something about crowd monitoring, but then Lieutenant Mueller says nothing's necessary here. So in this situation, the police will not be required.
Well, we haven't gotten to that one yet. I guess.
Oh, am I the wrong one?
Oh, we didn't go into A yet. So that was just before we wanted to get that brief,
right. Yes, of course.
Low down of the territory. So
that's right. I did not go to A yet. Okay. Thank you for the explanation, Intern Chief Zenner. Okay, now let's go to A. This is the request for the Levitt AMP concert series on those dates we've listed before, and from Create Portage County. So, committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Keemer will motion to approve the event street closing for the Levitt AMP concert series this summer.
Alder Keemer moves to approve. Do we have a second?
Alder Jennings, I'll second.
Jennings seconds. Okay, any questions or discussion from the committee? Well, other than from me.
Chair Leek, I have the same issue that you do. I noticed that little question mark there, and this seems to be everything you'd want some presence at because of the alcohol and food and music and people and the timelines. So the memo saying it was unnecessary was a little confusing. Perhaps the chief can answer that. Thanks.
Chief Zenner?
Yes. I did have a conversation with Lieutenant Mueller on that, and he was in communication with Greg Wright. The question that came up, and this comes into play, that event is a 2-hour event. We've had it in the past. That has not been an issue, and with it being of such short duration, we would look at possibly having auxiliary present, but we would not require at this point contractual officer being hired.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions from the committee? Hearing no further discussion from the committee, any questions from the public? Okay, motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The next one, if I need to go back now, is not the license list, the event for Stevens Point Pride, June 12th, likewise from Create. Chief Zenner, did you, on each of these, you didn't want to, I'll just ask you specifically on each one. Was there anything specifically for this event?
Yes, we would be requiring contractual officers to be hired for that event.
Right, I noticed what Lieutenant Mueller had mentioned there. So, okay, committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Fischler, I'd move approval for the Stevens Pride street closing on June 12th, 2021, as long as there are 2 contractual officers for that event.
Fischler moves. Do we have a second?
Alder Keemer will second.
Alder Keemer seconds. Any discussion or questions from the committee? Hearing none. Any questions or any questions from the public? Okay, motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next event is Make Music Day, June 21st, 2021. Oh, and like Pride, I should note this is a new event. So, or it's marked as a new event here. Anything specific to this one, Chief Center?
On the Make Music Day?
Yeah.
Okay. Would have no concerns on it. I would just ask the coordinator to continue to work with Lieutenant Mueller if there may be a need to have auxiliary present just to assist, but no concerns.
Okay, committee, what are your wishes? On C, Make Music Day.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve Make Music Day on June 21st, 2021, a new event.
Moved by Alder Kneebone. Do we have a second?
Alder Fischler, I'll second.
Alder Fischler seconds. Yeah, I hope, I'm often looking at the agenda, so I hope if someone's like waving a hand to say I might not notice that. So Fischler seconds. Any discussion or questions? From the committee, that is. Any from the public? Motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 There's some good harmony on that aye. Opposed? Motion carries and unanimously. And now for Paddle Quest, August 13th to August 15th, likewise a new event. Chief Zenner, anything specific to this event?
No, I would like to clarify if Chris is on it. I'm assuming alcohol will be served at the concert from 8 to 10 p.m. Is that the only time, or is this open beyond that point?
Yeah, so it would alcohol sales would only be following the main river portion of the event. So after the Questers return from about 6 to 10 p.m., there would be sales at Brooklyn Park.
Okay. We'd have no issues with it. Again, I'd ask that they continue to communicate with Lieutenant Mueller in the event that they need any auxiliary presence at the scene.
Thank you very much. Committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Jennings, I'll move to approve Paddle Quest on August 13th through August 15th. The street closed.
Alder Jennings moves. Do we have a second?
Alder Keemer will second.
Keemer seconds. So any discussion or questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Alder Kneebone here. It said that identifying adequate parking is a challenge. Has that been looked at a little bit further where the folks that are participating are going to park that evening?
Good question. Not that I'm aware. Chief Zenner, are you aware of anything on parking with this issue or with this event?
Nope, that has not been addressed with us on the parking issues.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I can add something if that's okay.
Please.
Through the Parks Commission, we did talk about parking for the park itself. So the location that's immediately adjacent to skate park and also the new playground that's coming, we've asked that they use that more for, if they're going to drop off or go up for registration, and then to move parking essentially to the green space area that's on the south side of the skate park, or out into areas of the street that's it's allowed. That way the normal flow of traffic for the park can still have it and have parking for the areas that are needed. Or if they're, and they have the lodge rented. So there's no outside group that weekend that'll be there using the lodge space. They are paying that fee through our office for that space. So based on what we've heard internally from the Parks Department, the applicant is fulfilled everything they were supposed to fulfill.
Oh, wonderful. Or Alder Kneebone, does that satisfy your inquiry?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion from the committee? Anything from the public? Okay, the motion on the floor for Paddle Quest. Do we, all those in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Part E, the Pineries Food Festival, August 28th. And this is, this is a recurring event, but there have apparently some alterations. I don't know the history of this event so well, though. But Chief Zenner, anything specific to this event?
They've already worked with Lieutenant Mueller, and they will, we're recommending 2 contractual officers be assigned to the event.
Thank you. Committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Jennings, I'll move to approve the request to hold an event and street closing for Pineries Food Festival with 2 auxiliary officers as recommended.
Alder Jennings moves. Do we have a second?
Kneebone will second.
Alder Kneebone seconds. Chief Zenner?
The recommendation was 2 contractual officers, not auxiliary, though.
My apologies.
Okay. So I guess we can probably just say it's amend that to say 2 contractual officers. Okay. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the public? Hearing nothing.
I'm sorry, Chair.
I have a
Oh,
question.
Yes. Oh, yes.
What is the difference between a contractual officer and an auxiliary officer?
Chief Zenner, please, if you would, please.
Contractual officer would be a sworn officer that would be hired by the event to be present, and auxiliary officer is a volunteer, non-sworn, non-arresting powers individual.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure. Mostly what we use our auxiliary for is traffic direction or information officer or traffic control.
Thank you so much. Anything further from the public? Okay, motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. F, part F here, the Wonderful Water Half Marathon, October 2nd. This is a new event. Chief Zenner, anything specific to this one?
Yes, and I talked to Chris right before we came in here. Looking at the event, it appears that we would need contractual officers and auxiliary called in to assist with traffic control. But if I'm looking at this correctly, they would also need to put in for a temporary license if they wish to have alcohol present, and I do not see that.
That's correct. They did not, well, at least not this agenda. So, okay, thank you for that. Committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Fischler, I'll move approval for the Wonderful Water Half Marathon on October 2nd for the, to request a street closing. If there are contractual and auxiliary officers present.
Okay, Alder Fischler moves. Do we have a second?
Alder Kiemer will second.
Alder Kiemer seconds. Discussion, questions from the committee?
I would address that they would still need that license before they'd be able to serve alcohol.
Right. Should we, or can we add that to the motion? No? Okay. Well, then, if they don't have the license, they won't be serving alcohol, I guess. Okay. Any further discussion from the public?
I guess I just had a question
Okay.
or clarification real quick. I saw the map of the various routes that they would do. Would all of those streets need to be closed? Or, I mean, I'm assuming, yes? I guess.
Presumably, yeah, I would expect so. Does anybody know differently?
We would close those streets, or depending on how we manage the route, we may be able to temporarily close and open in between. But as we've operated in the past with marathons such as this, they tend to be closed the duration.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on, we have an ordinance amendment to chapter 24.27, the schedule of cash deposits. These are adjustments to forfeiture amounts, that is to say fines, if I'm not mistaken. Committee, what are your wishes? Or in this instance, would we ask first the city attorney for comment? Okay, any comment from the city attorney?
I just realized the version of the agenda I downloaded only had the cover page. Give me 1 sec so I can look at the actual language of it.
Okay.
Okay, so as you can see, there's a bit of just formatting changes in there. There was an old format we'd used that created just some strange things in terms of how certain things appear on the page. This does incorporate the portions, if you recall last month, the discussion about ATVs and UTVs. Even though that didn't pass, this does incorporate the, I believe include some amounts for violations of state statute that relates to those. The primary thing that we were looking at here was changing some of the overnight parking stuff. As you can see, those there is a separate fee schedule specifically for overnight parking violations. That was the primary motivation for bringing this forward here.
I see. Committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Jennings, I'll move to approve the ordinance amendment, chapter 24.27, schedule of cash deposits, please.
Alder Jennings moves. Do we have a second?
Alder Fischler, I'll second.
Alder Fischler seconds. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the public? Any comment from the public?
I guess I just had a quick comment or question for Attorney Beveridge. I mean, I looked through, scanned through, and there was a number of kind of very interesting or unusual fines and fees. I think having a horse in the park or selling milk without a license. I mean, maybe those are, maybe the milk license is something that happens. I mean, are these things that are ever just repealed because they seem unlikely, or do you just keep them on the books for posterity?
Certainly things like that could be removed. Sometimes their comic element is worth the price of admission alone. My particular personal favorite is that it's prohibited to do any fast or fancy ice skating in some parks. It does not, however, include a definition of fancy.
Okay.
But we could certainly remove some of those if you would like.
Sure, very good.
Well, I guess we like it fast and fancy here sometimes. Okay, any further discussion or questions? Okay, motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And then we have another ordinance amendment, chapter 3.56, parentheses 6B1, notice of appeal. City Attorney Beveridge, any comments here?
No, this one is pretty straightforward. Obviously, the memo there explains part of the motivation here, but it was primarily just to be able to get notices to people in a more convenient way. Obviously, email is a little more straightforward, especially considering some of the delays that have been occurring with U.S. mail over the last 14 months or so. But also just we tend to not have a ton of demands for appeal hearings. And to conduct them within that 30-day timetable, we'd very frequently be holding meetings just to hear one appeal. So the idea is here is that we can schedule ones that'll at least hear, maybe 3 or 4 appeals in one meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Committee, what are your wishes?
Alder Keemer will make the motion to approve the ordinance amendment, chapter 3.56, subsection B, subsection 6, subsection B1, notice of appeal.
Alder Keemer moves. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Alder Jennings.
Alder Jennings seconds. Wait a minute. I already asked about discussion, didn't I? Well, any further discussion? Anything from the public? Motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries. And item 6, adjournment at 6:36 p.m.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.